Welcome to The Kitchen Table, a conversation about faith, music, and culture. Join Shine.fm's ministry director Brian McIntyre Utter and his son Jake around the table for this week's chat.
Welcome to The Kitchen Table. My name is Brian.
And I'm Jake.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a special Thanksgiving edition. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Even though this will probably air a few days after Thanksgiving, it's still Thanksgiving weekend. We don't want to rush right into the holidays, even though Black Friday is already happening, Cyber
and even
Monday.
though we already have our Christmas tree up in the house, all three of them.
A lot of people did that this year because, one, Thanksgiving is late. And two, here in the Chicago area where we record this, we actually got a snow Halloween. So you got pushed into it. You didn't know how many more nicer days you're going to have to hang the lights outside, so you wanted to take advantage of it when you could.
Yeah.
So that's why we did that.
So just a brief way of how this show is set up. We have our faith discussion, and we just talk about something that is on our hearts this week. So this week is Thanksgiving, so we're having a mindfulness of thankfulness. But then after that, we move into a segment called Music Matters. And in Music Matters, Dad and I just both talk about music that's impacting us this week. But Dad also brings an oldie but goldie, as we like to call it. And he just brings a song from his youthful age time and just shares it with us and how it can still make an impact today. And then we move into Culture Shock, which is when we talk about someone who's just making a difference in their community, in their culture. And that can be a celebrity, a football player, to your average Joe Schmo. Moving into this time of our faith discussion with thankfulness and Thanksgiving coming up.
Right. We want to talk about thankfulness, being grateful, and gratitude this week. And so we've done that. And first thing we're going to do, I sent Jake out this week to Ludwig Center here on the campus of Olivet Nazarene University.
Ludwig Center? I've never heard of it.
They call it Luddy.
We call it Luddy.
Yeah, well, it's actually Ludwig Center, so you know.
But yeah, I went out to Ludwig Center and just asked some people what they were thankful for as they were about to head home either that day or that night, because school is closed for the rest of the week, which is a blessing. And so here's a few snippets of just some people and what they are thankful for. Samantha Harris, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for the day that God's given me and my family and my friends and the people that I've gotten to know and love.
Dr. Marvin Jones, Director of Gospel Choir, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my family, and I'm thankful for my salvation through Jesus.
Peyton, what are you thankful for this season of Thanksgiving?
I'm really, really thankful for the people that God has placed around my life. I'm just really thankful. There's so many people that God has given me this year that have made me feel so seen and so important, and have really helped me to grow.
Ayana Rayfield, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for God, and I'm thankful for all my friends and family.
Why are you thankful?
I'm thankful for my wonderful family because they're just super great and I love them.
Aaron Newsom, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for friendship.
Adam Patterson, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for you, Jake Utter.
I love you too, buddy.
So some college-age perspectives on what they're thankful for. It's nice to hear that.
Not just my college-age perspective.
Yeah, exactly. We want to get some other voices into the mix here. You know, the Bible is filled with commands that we're supposed to give thanks to God. Many verses will go and list reasons why we should thank God. For example, Psalms 136:3, we thank him because his love endures forever. And Psalm 118:29, we thank him because he is good and his mercy is everlasting. Psalm 105. So Thanksgiving and praising God, they always go together. And I think a lot of times we're good at praising God, but we do really thank him. We could not adequately praise and worship God without also being thankful. Feeling and expressing appreciation is good for us, and God wants us to learn to be thankful for all the gifts he has given us. Everything we have literally is a gift from God. Do you believe that?
Amen.
So gratefulness. Without gratefulness, we become arrogant. We become self-centered. We begin to believe that what we have achieved and all that we have, everything has been on our own. And honestly, that's not true at all. Thankfulness keeps our hearts in a right relationship with the giver of all good gifts. Giving thanks also reminds us of how much we do have. This week, I saw an article. I thought it was interesting, and I just glanced at it, didn't pay any attention to it, but the headline was, to be happy, you need $220,000 a year in salary in New York City. And I just looked at it, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, cost of living. Well, then a couple days later, a friend of mine posted on Facebook that an article that showed how much you needed to be happy and live in Los Angeles. And the figure there is $204,855. To be happy in Los Angeles, you need to make $204,855. I thought about that for a second because, you know, they're equating a salary to happiness.
Yeah.
And that in my view, happiness does not equal money, does not equal income. I know many people in the developing world in other countries who have nothing of material possession, and all they're thinking about is today. And you know what? They're happy. They find their joy in something beyond salaries and positions and material possessions. So giving thanks reminds us how much we do have. We're prone to covet other things that people have. I think right now we just had Black Friday, where you're pushing and shoving to get the deal on the best thing because of stuff. And then we have more stuff and we give stuff and we have enough stuff that we fill our house with stuff. And then we have to go rent a storage unit to store our stuff, which makes no sense to me. And we have garages full of our stuff that we can't fit our cars in because we have to have the stuff. We tend to focus on what we don't have. But by giving thanks to God, we are continually reminded how much we do have. When we focus on the blessings rather than the wants, we're happier. That's what happiness is about, the blessings, not the wants. And when we start thanking God for the things we usually take for granted, our perspective as followers of Jesus Christ changes. We realize that we could not exist without the merciful blessings of God.
I think the one thing that is really hard to balance is this time, especially now that Thanksgiving is over, but also just being thankful for everything that we have and noticing that we have so much compared to other people. And so it's hard to find the balance of like, where is thankfulness and guilt?
Guilt for having possessions?
Yeah, because especially in today with Thanksgiving being here, we are thankful for our family, for the things that we have, the financial stability that we have. But what about the people that don't?
And you feel guilty because
and you feel guilty about it. So how do we take on that balance of thankfulness for what we have, but also not feeling super guilty for having that stuff?
Well, I think an important word that you said is the word balance, because yes, we are thankful for what we have, and we're thankful to God who has allowed us to have what we have. But at the same time, we need balance in our own lives as to what's important.
Yeah.
The reason we had the housing crisis 10 years ago now or more was because people purchased more than they could handle. They purchased more of a house than they could handle. Rather than buying something they could afford that fits better into a budget and then having excess in order to bless others with.
Yeah.
When we moved to South America as missionaries, we purchased the most common vehicle in the country. And it was all, manual transmission, not automatic like you have here. So you have to relearn all the manual transmission rather.
Yeah.
And so our car was very common. We didn't buy the Ford or the Chevy that was available there with the automatic transmission because we wanted to fit in. We wanted to be a part. We wanted to be able to have resources to minister to other people. The furniture that we bought was natural pine. It wasn't finished. We had to finish it ourselves or paint it ourselves. It's very common. It wasn't high end. You have to make those kinds of choices in life. God is blessing you with resources. How do you use those resources? How do you prioritize what's important?
Yeah.
We were approved for a mortgage at a certain level, and I'm like, that's crazy. I don't want that kind of mortgage payment. So we bought a lot less. And then what are we able to do? We're able to bless others. We're able to send our kids to a private school if we need to. Those kinds of things. We're not strapped every month for cash because you make the nice decisions that are balanced.
Yeah.
And you're thankful for them. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "In everything give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." In everything, even in the circumstances we don't like. That is true gratefulness. Now, there are benefits of showing gratitude. Benefits beyond just God wants us to. I mean, He's created us, and maybe He's wired us in a certain way where He realized gratitude is a very important part of this whole thing. Some ways that gratitude will motivate you to give thanks, not only at Thanksgiving, but year-round. Gratitude opens the door to more relationships. Do you believe that?
Yeah.
When you say thank you to someone, it's not just good manners. You're showing appreciation. That can help you win over a new friend. Thanking a new acquaintance makes them more likely to seek out an ongoing relationship with you. That's actually a study from 2014 published in Emotion. When I was growing up, we had church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, several times during the week.
Yeah.
And one of those nights, we typically would do what's called testimony time.
Yeah.
Remember testimony time?
I do.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was a time where people would stand up and share, how God's working in their life, and they're thankful for that. There was this one lady, an older lady in our church. Her name was Annabelle. That's an old-sounding name, isn't it?
Very.
But Annabelle, she would stand up every testimony time, and by the end of the testimony, everyone was just so depressed. because it wasn't about thanking God. It was about, oh, woe is me, all my health ailments, all my family members going through tough stuff. I kind of wondered because one of the things I read is that gratitude improves your physical health. In a study from 2012 on personality and individual differences, grateful people experience fewer aches, fewer pains, and they reported feeling healthier. So I'm like, wow, that's true because you're focusing on the positive and what you're thankful for. Also, your psychological health. Gratitude reduces a multitude of toxic emotions ranging from envy and resentment to frustration and regret. A PhD leading gratitude researcher says there is a link between gratitude and well-being. Gratitude effectively increases happiness and reduces depression. So for those folks in New York and LA where we talked about how much money you need for happiness, maybe it's not that much money. Maybe it's more gratitude.
Money is the root of all evil. I've heard that before. I'm pretty sure almost everybody has.
Money's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a skewed vision of it. If we see money as the source of happiness, then that is where it becomes the root of evil. If we see the benefits of everything and be thankful for everything that we have, friendships, relationships, jobs, careers, money, financial stability, I think all of that will play into it and be important, and that is what brings us happiness through God. Remembering that everything that has been given to us is from God himself and is a gift to us from him.
Gratitude also enhances empathy and reduces aggression. Grateful people are more likely to behave in a pro-social manner. In a 2012 study by the University of Kentucky, participants who ranked higher on gratitude scales were less likely to retaliate against others, even when given negative feedback. They experienced more sensitivity and empathy toward other people and a decrease in a desire to seek revenge. Also, gratitude, being grateful, helps you sleep better. Another study says that you spend 15 minutes just jotting down grateful sentiments before you go to bed, and you're going to sleep better and longer. I was surprised by that. It improves your self-esteem. The Journal for Applied Sports Psychology from 2014 says gratitude actually increased an athlete's self-esteem, reduces social comparisons between each other. So rather than becoming resentful toward people who have more money or better jobs, which is a major factor in reducing self-esteem, grateful people were able to appreciate other people's accomplishments. And the final one, gratitude increases mental strength. Now, I was really interested in this. Research has shown that gratitude reduces not only stress, but it also can play a major role in overcoming trauma.
Wow.
A study published in Behavior Research and Therapy found that Vietnam War veterans with higher levels of gratitude experience lower levels of post-traumatic stress disorder. The Journal for Personality and Social Psychology says that gratitude was a major contributor to the resilience following the terrorist attacks on September 11th. So recognizing all you have to be thankful for, even during the worst times of your life, fosters resilience.
Wow. That's crazy to think about. I mean, you never just think about the physical benefits of being thankful and grateful.
So let's go back to
Luddy,
and we're going to ask students specifically why being thankful, why showing gratitude is important.
When you're thankful, you appreciate what things are, what you're blessed with. You just see how much God has blessed you. I think that recognizing that allows you to understand God in a deeper way.
It allows you to see God in a different way. It allows you to be more grateful every day and not just during the season.
It's always good to express gratitude because as we're grateful, our lives are actually better.
I think it's important to be thankful because we serve such a good God, and God places so many good things in our lives. And I think it's really easy when life gets hard to forget God's goodness and to forget all the amazing things he's done. So I think gratitude is a really awesome form of worship because it says even in the hard times, like there's still good and there's still things that God gives us and there's still so many wonderful things that we have to be thankful for.
It's important to be thankful because you get to appreciate the people around you and who they are and how God designed them.
It's important to be thankful because you need to realize all the gifts that you're given, all the wonderful things, all the wonderful people you have in your life.
I found some great stuff from Billy Graham about how to be thankful in all things. Now, Paul, the Apostle Paul, was a man who learned the meaning of true thanksgiving, even in the midst of adversity. Now, think about Paul. Spent much of his time during his ministry years where?
He was in prison.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when he wrote a lot of these letters to the churches. We were talking about this in Sunday school this week. In fact, Paul's writing the books of the Bible that he wrote were letters back to the church at Corinth and Ephesians and different places. He was writing those from prison. He was discipling those churches via letter from prison. So in Ephesians 5:19 and 20, he wrote this: "Sing and make music in your heart to the Lord, always giving thanks to God the Father for everything in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ." He's writing this as he stuck a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
That's just crazy to me. Now think about this. Always giving thanks for everything, no matter the circumstances. You see, Thanksgiving for Paul was not once a year celebration, but a daily reality that changed his life and made him a joyful person in every situation. Thanksgiving, the giving of thanks to God for all his blessings, should be one of the most distinctive marks of the believer in Jesus Christ. We must not allow a spirit of ingratitude to harden our hearts and chill our relationship with God and with others. So what are some things we can be thankful for and thank God for? How about material blessings? We never seem to be satisfied with what we have. We talked about this. What a difference it makes when we realize that everything we have has been given to us by God. King David prayed, you can find this in 1 Chronicles 29, "Wealth and honor come from you. We give you thanks and praise your glorious name. Everything comes from you." Are you constantly preoccupied with what you do not have? Or have you learned to thank God for what you do have? Another thing you can do is you can thank God for the people in your life. It's so easy for us to take for granted the people in our lives, or even to complain and become angry because they do not meet every wish that we have. But we need to give thanks for those around us.
Yeah.
Our spouses, our children, our relatives, our friends.
Our parents.
That should be in there, yeah.
I'm just saying, you know.
Okay, all right. Do you let others know you appreciate them and are thankful for them? Now, we talked about Paul, the church in Corinth, the Christians there. They were far from perfect, just like all of us are far from perfect. But Paul, writing them a letter, started it this way: "I always thank God for you." When a group of believers, whom at this point Paul had never met, came out to greet him as he approached Rome, we read that at the sight of these men, Paul thanked God and was encouraged. So thank God for those who touch your life this week.
I'm a people person. I'm very much a people person. And I don't know, I'm always thankful for the people that God's put in my life. I think it's important to remember that.
One more area where we can thank God is his continued presence and power in our life. You know, when we came to Christ, it's not the end, but the beginning of a whole new life. He is with us, and he wants to help us follow him and his word. In ourselves, we do not have the strength that we need to live the way God wants us to live. But when we turn to him, we discover it is God who works in us to will and to act according to his good purpose. Jesus promised his disciples something. You can find it in Matthew 28. "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Surely I am with you always, even to the very end of the age." Thanksgiving. You know, Thanksgiving is a U.S. holiday, but there are many countries of the world that have a day set aside now for Thanksgiving, to thank God. And usually it's just that one day, that special day. But for us as followers of Christ, every day can be a day of thanksgiving, as we are always giving thanks to God the Father for everything that he gives us. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanks Gobble Gobble Day.
That's our faith topic. Time now to move into Music Matters. So continuing this topic of thankfulness and gratefulness, I've got a song that talks about that.
Wow.
And it's actually a new song, and I'm going to take a total moment here to, again, plug something coming up.
Bing.
I don't have my bell.
We don't have our bell.
So I have a brand new song, brand new. It's a collaboration between Gavi, who's a hip-hop artist, and Holland.
Oh, we love both of them.
Yeah, they're actually doing a song together. The song is called Thanking You. Now, this is where I'm going to plug something. We have created a brand new event at Shine.fm. It's an annual event, and it's called Meltdown, and it's designed specifically for youth. It's coming up on February 22nd, 2020, so 2/22/2020. 2/22/2020, that's the date. An incredible night for youth, but anyone can come. And we've got not only a bunch of artists, but we have a speaker as well. Musical artists, we have Holland and Gavi coming.
Dope.
As well as Vertical Worship.
Oh.
As well as a new artist, Ellie Limebear, which we play some of her stuff on Spark. Now, Ellie Limebear is the daughter of Martin Smith, lead singer of Delirious, if you remember Delirious from the 90s people. Yeah. So they're all doing music that night. And then we have a special speaker as well, B. Haley. B used to be the drummer in Toby Mac's Diverse City. He's now a speaker, and so he's going to be coming and sharing with us that night. An incredible night for youth. So parents, if you're listening, this is an event you want your kids at. We've got a discounted rate on the thing. Tickets are going to go on sale very shortly. So keep listening to Shine.fm. Keep listening to Spark as well. We're going to be giving you all the details on Meltdown.
Bing.
Nonetheless, here are the two closing artists of that night together doing a song. It's called Thanking You. It's Gavi with Hollow.
Only nothing hold me down when I'm in good Christmas mood. Look at the joy I found. So Jesus, I'm thanking you.
Love them both. They're such great artists, and I'm excited to see them.
I think it's going to be just an incredible night.
Yeah, that's a lot of good talent. Well, my song for the week is kind of new. It came out this year, but it's not brand new like Dad over here. But Cody Carnes wrote a song called Nothing Else, and it's just a great song that reminds us of God's presence, and his power is just what we need, and we don't need anything else. And so here's a snippet of Nothing Else by Cody Carnes.
And nothing else will do. I just want you.
I'm a big fan of Cody Carnes. In fact, I'm also a big fan of his wife, Carrie Job.
Wait, what? I didn't know that.
You did not know that? Yes.
Dang.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't know they were married.
They are. They write a lot of songs together, too.
Wait, isn't Carrie Job's husband the drummer, though? No, that's
I don't
Francesco
think so.
Battistelli.
Yeah. Wrong artist. All right, so now it's time to go back in time. It's our oldie but goldie. So we're going to go back to 1997 on this song. The theme of...
2 years before I was born.
I knew you were going to interject that. The theme of thankfulness and how we need God more than anything, and how we should be just thanking God, not only at Thanksgiving, but year-round. This is a song, I think this gal, she might have had like 1 or 2 hit songs back in the 90s. I tried to find out what she's doing today. I couldn't find much on her. Her name is Amy Morris. This song was number 10 from 1997, and it's a song called We Need You.
Dope. That's really cool.
Yeah, she had a couple good songs back in the 90s, and I don't know if she's still doing music or not. I tried to find, what she's doing today. Couldn't find a whole lot on her, but hopefully she is. Well, that wraps up Music Matters.
And now moving into Culture Shock.
All right, so Culture Shock today, I want to talk about an experience that we had last week.
And we've talked about him probably 4 times before.
Well, that's because he is one of my true heroes. And I think we talk about in Culture Shock, we talk about people that are making a difference for the kingdom. Now, even though this guy has passed on,
he's still making a difference.
He's making a difference. And that is, of course, Fred Rogers. Welcome to the neighborhood. The movie is out. We went and saw it opening night. We all had Fred Rogers shirts on. I wore my Fred Rogers socks. I'm that much of a fan.
He's a big fan.
The reason I like him so much, because people have asked me, why do you like him? Well, it's real simple. He was an ordained minister who realized you can use media to make a difference in culture. And that's exactly what he did.
He also graduated with a music composition degree.
Yes, he did. And I believe his wife did as well. In fact, I think she has a master's.
Well, they both play piano. That was in the movie.
That was in the movie. You're right. The movie, and I don't want to give it away, and I don't think we'll give away a lot, but there's just go see it. One of the things that struck me the most was how quiet the movie was.
Yeah.
Because he was very he was soft-spoken, but he's very purposeful in everything he had to say and the way he had to say it. And the movie captured that in the form of silence. In fact, there was one scene. The movie really is not about Fred Rogers.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a biopic, but it was not.
It's not a biopic. It's inspired by the real-life story of a guy named Tom Janad, who was a reporter, or might still be, I don't know, for Esquire magazine. And he was assigned to do a story, a short story on heroes, and he was assigned to do one
doing an article on heroes.
So it was an article on heroes, and it was just a short little segment on Fred Rogers. And this guy didn't want to do it. He just thought, Fred Rogers, I don't want to do this. Well, this guy also had a reputation of destroying people in his articles, and no one else would talk to him because of the way he's treated other people. And so Fred Rogers said he could interview him, and that's what happened. And so the movie is the premise of him meeting Fred Rogers and their relationship together from that. And, of course, this reporter is a broken individual, and Fred recognizes that right away. And there was a point in the movie where they were in like a Chinese restaurant, and it's noisy. You got people talking. You got dishes clattering. And Fred asks him across the table, take a minute of silence to think about the people who have loved us into being. And then literally the restaurant got quiet. You didn't hear a thing. And it was 60 seconds of silence. And Tom Hanks, of course, playing Fred Rogers, breaks the fourth wall, which means he looked at the audience. He looked right at the camera.
Yeah.
Didn't say a thing. Just stared. And you see this reporter's head fall down, and he started to tear up.
Yeah.
And it was such a powerful moment in that movie. I highly recommend you go seeing this. But I wanted to talk about some of the things that Mr. Rogers taught us. And then we're going to conclude Culture Shock and the entire program with a quote from him, which was on gratitude. I think it's a great way to wrap this up. So, some life lessons we can learn from Mr. Rogers. That television can be a force for good. This is what he had to say about it. Its ability to uplift and nourish young minds. He said, television needs to do all it can to show and tell what the good in life is all about. We all have only one life to live on earth. And through television, we have the choice of encouraging others to demean this life or to cherish it in creative, imaginative ways. That's so important. Another thing he taught us is to look for helpers. There will always be those who will stand up, raise their hand, and assist fellow human beings. He knew this as well. He said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. To this day, especially in times of disaster, I remember my mother's words, and I am always comforted by realizing that there are still so many helpers, so many caring people in the world.
One of my favorite things that Mr. Rogers taught, I never watched the show, but I've learned a lot through Dad just because he's such a huge fan. But he gave us the secret to success. And he said that there are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is to be kind. The second way is to be kind. And the third way is to be kind. And I just love that because it's kind of a joke because he's saying the same 3 things to be successful, but it shows how important it is.
I actually have a t-shirt that says that.
Yeah, you do.
Another thing we learned from Mr. Rogers, there's no such thing as perfect. We all have flaws, and those could be celebrated, not just criticized.
Another thing that Mr. Rogers said, imagination is a muscle we need to flex. He said this, if you have had all the toys in the world and you didn't have any imagination about how you would play with them, those toys would just sit there doing nothing. And that would be no fun. Thinking of good things to do with what you have gives everybody a good feeling. And that's a part of thankfulness. I think that if we emphasize on the things that we have and imagine new ways with it, 1, we'll never get bored with the things we have, but 2, we'll put everything that we have to the fullest potential.
That's why kids like the things that boxes come in rather than the actual toy.
Yeah.
The imagination kicks in. Something else, superheroes aren't just in movies and comics. Now, clearly, he dedicated his life to helping children. He had a lot of admiration and respect for anyone who did the same. He said this, when I was very young, most of my childhood heroes wore capes, flew through the air, or picked up buildings with one arm. They were spectacular and got a lot of attention. But as I grew, my heroes changed, so that now I can honestly say that anyone who does anything to help a child is a hero to me.
One of my favorite things that Mr. Rogers did is that on his show, he broke every norm. And so one of the things that he believed in was differences should never divide us. In 1969, America was going through a lot of the racial problems that it was having. And so Rogers had casted Officer Clemens, who was one of the first African American on children's television. With Officer Clemens, he did a lot of the things that in that time racial problems were not letting. And so, for an example, him and Clemens were in a kiddie pool together and just hanging out. And I think it's one of the awesome ways of just breaking down the barriers of what this world was going through.
And finally, one of the things that Fred Rogers taught us is to just be yourself. He said one of the greatest gifts you can give anyone is the gift of your honest self. I also believe that kids can spot a phony a mile away. I feel so strongly that deep and simple is far more essential than shallow and complex.
Yeah.
So things that we can learn from Mr. Rogers. That's Culture Shock.
And that puts a wrap on this episode of The Kitchen Table. Thank you for being here. I hope that you had a great time with your families during Thanksgiving and that you just got to be thankful with them and for them. A way to connect with The Kitchen Table is through the Shine.fm Facebook page, and there's a little subgroup that is called The Kitchen Table, and we just kind of continue on the conversation there. If you want to send in questions, send in music that you hear, send in stories of people who are making an impact in their culture, that would be awesome. And so Dad has a final quote from Mr. Rogers on gratitude.
As we celebrate this Thanksgiving weekend, this is something from Fred Rogers' commencement address in Middlebury College in 2001 on gratitude. It says, "I believe that appreciation is a holy thing, that when we look for what's best in the person we happen to be with at the moment, we're doing what God does. So in appreciating our neighbor, we're participating in something truly sacred." Thanks for listening. Happy Thanksgiving.
And be salty and lit.
Thanks for listening to The Kitchen Table on the Shine.fm podcast network from Olivet Nazarene University. Be sure to subscribe for more content delivered each week on faith, music, and culture.